Hi everyone. Welcome to this session, the state of the future of work in Asia. Good morning to you if you're in Asia. Good evening to you if you're in other part of the world. My name is Dickson Tang. I'm based in Singapore. Super excited to be on this panel today. We have a stellar list of speakers today. So I just want to personally welcome all the panelists, as well as personally welcome all the audience around the globe. So first of all, perhaps I will quickly introduce myself, and at the same time, I will get the panelists to introduce themselves shortly. Hi everyone, my name is Dickson Tang. I'm based in Singapore. I am a speaker and author focusing on creative human capital. And I'm also the author of this book, Leadership for Future of Work, 9 Ways to Build Career Edge Over Robots with Human Creativity. I believe creative human capital is something absolutely important in the future. And I'm super excited today to be on this Hacking HR event to share with you guys what's happening in Asia in terms of future work. Okay, so now let me pass on the time to Carolyn. Would you like to introduce yourself and then pass to the next person?
Sure. Hi, everybody, near and far. Carolyn Chin-Parry. I'm PwC Asia Pacific Digital Upskilling Leader, as well as Singapore Digital Accelerator Leader. I'm very passionate about the future of work. With my digital background, I'm really interested to find ways to help upskill people so they have the right skills to thrive in the next era to come, as well as the current one. And also, more importantly, to look at how we can use technology to create a more inclusive and diverse workforce.
Okay, great. How about Pip? Would you like to
say
a few things?
Good morning, everyone. Hello, I'm Pip, otherwise known as Philippa Penfold. I'm based in ASEAN. I'm the CEO and co-founder of a company called People Collider. We educate HR professionals about new technology. So we take HR people who typically don't understand the likes of AI, blockchain, RPA, and educate them to the point where they can explain it to their mum. But also how we work with the technology in HR so that when we say we are able to build a tech-enabled human-centric workforce and workplace, we truly can do that. And we understand not just the tech enablement, but the human centricity that goes along with it, how to blend the two together for the future of work. I'm pleased to see you this morning. Thank you very much, Dickson.
Okay, thank you, Pip. Next, how about Jaclyn?
Good morning from Singapore. Jaclyn here. I'm the Chief Human Resources Officer for the Singapore University of Technology and Design. I'm very passionate about the future of work. In fact, the last 4 to 5 years, I've been actively, in the speaking circuit on top of my job, really talking about how HR professionals can equip themselves, for the future of work. And I think particularly, I'm very passionate about data analytics. At the same time, I'm also a senior fellow with the University Academy. I teach courses in human resource analytics and data's introduction to foundation data science. So I think it's important for HR professionals to be equipped with data. Also, another interesting thing, just like Dickson, I also recently became an author of a book called Accelerating Organization Culture Change. So this is really about how to use digital tools to, speed up the rate of change in organizations. And I'm very happy to be part of the panel this morning. Thank you.
Okay, fantastic. Congratulations on your book. And later, we would love to know a bit more about the book as well. Right? Thank you, Jaclyn. Last but not least, Anas, how are you? Would you like to?
Hi, Dickson. Hi, everyone. Good morning. This is Anas. I'm based out of Pakistan. I'm currently the head of HR for a tech company called VentureDive. It's a product and services company. I've been associated mostly with multinationals for about 10, 13 years. And after that, I realized that this is not my cup of tea. I need to be in something more exciting. So I joined the tech industry, enjoying it very much. It's a very new space, lots of space for HR to make its mark. As with other, areas, because it's a new field, I feel. Very excited and very passionate about how the future work is going to look like, and excited to play my part in building that future of work. So in different areas, I'm planning to take it to the next level and play my role.
Okay, fantastic. And so I think we are about to start. And for those of you who are on LinkedIn Live, for the audience who are on the LinkedIn Live, yeah, you can let us know, right, where are you coming from, and you can just say hi as well on the LinkedIn Live. We want to make this more interactive. So on the topic of the future of work, the state of the future of work in Asia, what are we going to do right now is I'm going to ask you guys this question. This is an important question, and I'm sure all the audience around the world would like to know. Okay, so the question is, okay, what's the situation right now? What's going on right now in terms of future of work, right, in Asia? And also, what kind of trends, right, you guys are seeing in a couple years, in 3 to 5 years time, right? So basically, what's happening, and also what will be happening. So I think I would like to get Carolyn to answer this question first, and then after that maybe Anna's, and after that Jaclyn. Okay, so Carolyn, pass the time to you. So what's happening in Asia right now?
In Asia right now, I believe that there's a lot of people who are really quite nervous whether they have the right skills to thrive in the digital era and beyond. There's a lot of skill shortage in the tech field. However, there's also equally as many people who are wondering what's going to happen with the advancements of technology. I think that we'll see a greater number of people participating in the contingent workforce, so that's the gig economy. I think that a lot of people are starting to live a lot longer, and hence the retirement age will get pushed out. So I think that we'll see the older generation, and also quite possibly the younger generation, the middle part of their lives purely dedicated to work, that it could actually shift from juggling between work, such as the gig that they might do, as well as then being able to take some breaks and then come back into the workforce again. And that might actually be the new norm in the future. But I think in the meantime, especially with the COVID-19 virus situation, it's actually forcing a lot of people to learn how to work virtually, for employers to actually start trusting their employees to work from home and getting work done. So I think that in fact, well, it's unfortunate to have this situation. I think it really pushes the part that employers need to start looking at collaborative tools online for people to start working from home successfully.
So the gig economy will be the norm, and also like virtual will probably be the norm, right? Okay, thank you, Carolyn. Anas, on this topic, like what's going on right now in Asia, and what are some of the trends? Right, what's your view on that, Anas?
Okay, so I think some of these trends that I'm going to highlight. I think they're applicable around the world, but I think in Asia, some of the things that are specifically happening, if I start with the first one, is I think move towards diversity and inclusion. I think we're a little behind, especially in some of the countries within Asia. And employers are now moving towards more and more having an inclusive and diverse culture. Part of it is having flexible work, having remote work, remote workforce, having people work from remote locations. So I think they're including that. Female population, I think, is a big chunk. Asian culture is different. And I think the push now is there that, more and more females are becoming or trying to become part of the workforce, which is a great thing, I think, because it's a big chunk of our population that's not enabled as yet. So I think that's the push that's coming in. Then I think freelance work is on the rise. So about 36%, I saw this study somewhere, and 36% people are working from home or are freelancing. So freelancing opportunities are on the rise. So the traditional environment where we go to the office and do your work is very different. In fact, I mean, my own brother, younger brother, he's a freelancer. And at first, me coming from a traditional background, I did not really understand it, but I get it now. I mean, that's on the rise. But what's that also done is that if 36% of the people are freelancing, that means the traditional workforce is being wiped off the workforce. So you're left, the companies that are working, they are left with less number of people, and then competition is very stiff. So we're getting into a talent battle now, and there are few people available. Good talent is limited in supply, and the same companies are after the same talent, so they're facing a challenge, which brings them to the next step, which is they need to work on their engagement and how to work on the retention of people. So more focus on engagement of people, retention, and they have to find new ways of making sure that the people that they have, we're not in those environment where one person would spend about 30 years or their entire lives with one company. Um, um, so I think lots of these things are changing. I think HR will have a very key role in playing and solving some of these problems that these companies are going to face.
Okay, wonderful, Anna. So it seems increasingly more female participation, more freelancing, and also more need for engagement and to win the talent battle. Okay, fantastic. Next, Jaclyn, what are your views on like what's happening right now, and what are some of the future of work trends in Asia from your perspective?
Hey, thanks, Dickson. So I think just as the other two speakers have shared, there's a lot of things kind of changing in this digital world. And the COVID-19 indeed has really made us test our technology. I think for us, we're now in team A, team B. And I find that it's so difficult now to even talk. I can't see the person physically, but I have to talk to them through all Zoom and all kinds of technology. It's forcing us to really adapt to a new model of work. So I really echoed, what the other speaker has shared. I think for me, particularly, I'm concerned really about the skill set. So you think about the skills of the future, and even now the future is here. The kind of skill sets that we have, what we study in school, it's really evolving so fast. So I always kind of think about this motto about you learn multiple times in your life. So you learn but you need to unlearn and also relearn because the skills are so different. So if you think about the skill sets, I would call it a T-shape. It's no longer having enough depth. You might be an expert, an accountant, or a human resource professional, but it's no longer good enough to have a skill set that is deep. But you need to have something that is wide. So you want to be able to not just be good in what you're doing, but have kind of skills that are a bit broader, so that you have a very multidisciplinary kind of mindset and skill set to cope with a very dynamic environment. In fact, today we say no longer is the CEO the king, or really now the king is the teams. Okay, if you look at Netflix, Google, everything functions by really, we call it the power of the network of teams. So because the skill sets, the world is so complex that the skill sets that are needed, it's no longer enough to have one type of skill set, but to bring in multiple teams, people with different kind of skill set into a cross-functional team to be able to solve complex problems. So my take will be, let's learn and relearn multiple times in our lives in order to cope with the future of work.
Okay, fantastic. Wow, that is something exciting for all of us, and for some of us maybe a bit scary because we have to learn, unlearn, and do it multiple times. And we also need to build a T-shaped type of skill. And thank you for the sharing. And hey, Pip, I know you do a lot of work in Asia related to future of work, right? So what are your unique perspective on what's happening in Asia right now, and what are some of the trends?
Thanks, Dickson. We'll just wrap up on what the other speakers have said as well, because I think they've touched on all the pertinent points. The first thing is around the ability to learn. I think for many of us in the workplace, we have not developed the skill of learning and of continuous learning. So it's not that what we know in the past is rubbish. My 20 plus years in corporate HR are not a waste just because we did HR differently then to what we're doing HR in the future. The question is, what do I need to learn today to be able to blend my HR expertise with a new skill set to deliver value to businesses in a future workplace? And I think this is where a lot of us are struggling. It's easier to identify where to build depth and mastery in a single area. It's much more difficult to know what should I be doing, what should I be learning to be able to augment my skill set to make me more employable in the future workplace. I know that HR departments are really struggling to work out how do they help people to answer this question. Because as all of us who've worked in L&D know, it's one answer for the business, it's as many answers for employees as you have employees. And balancing the two is a real challenge. I think we're seeing more a pull between the past and the future. I think the ones who are not making change today, no matter how painful or slow, will be left behind and are being left behind, and they will die over the next 3 to 5 years. As William Gibson said, the future is already here. It's just very unevenly distributed. And you see that not just in industries or across our markets here in Asia, you see it in workplaces. I think actually what Anna said around the female representation, if there's people listening from around the world, this will feel a little bit strange, but in Asia, female participation in some markets has a long way to go. Not all markets, mind you. It's not a typical Asia characteristic, but it is characteristic of some of the markets. Because you would think more advanced, like backward. Even though I'm Australian, I discovered that one of my people, my friends who still work in D&I, say that we're moving backwards rather than forwards. So it's an interesting dynamic that we have across our region here in Asia. So I think that the ability to blend old and new, past, present, and future is the greatest challenge that we have here. And some companies are doing better than others. Some HR are doing it better than others. Only time will tell who does it best of all.
Okay, fantastic. So yeah, I would say yes. The skill of learning is important. It's like learning how to learn, right? That is very crucial, and also how we can like leverage on the workforce, like blending the past experience, the new skills, and then blending all this together and map it to the future, right? So that is something we need to address in this part of the world, and. So thanks for everyone sharing with us like what's going on in Asia. Now I want to shift the gear a little bit, and I would like to ask you specific questions related to some of these future work topics. And I know, Jaclyn, you have published a book recently. So, and I also know that you are very passionate about the future work, especially about the culture, the speed, and all this. So yeah, Jaclyn, if you can you share with us a little bit more about your book, and also right on the topic of this the speed, right? Speed matters in the future work, right? So how organization can speed up, right, the transformation, speed up the innovation, right? So Jaclyn, pass to you.
So as you can see, the book says that it's talking about accelerating organization culture change.
Yep.
So essentially, you know, today with the digital economy and the way things are moving, transformation and change becomes very pertinent to the future of work. In a survey done by McKinsey, that they showed that organizations that can adapt faster in terms of the speed of change in culture transformation actually are 2 or 3 times much more profitable. So when you talk about culture transformation, it's really about taking the entire organization with you, and how do you get everyone to align to the mission and vision that you want to bring the organization into. So especially in digital transformation, I'm trying to get a skill sets. I'm trying to get people to transform their minds, to be able to think about, how can I adapt to the new ways of working. And often or not in my research, well, I found out that the resistance, the mindset is one of the worst, the hardest to transform. It's not too difficult to change technology. You can buy equipment, you can buy new software, but getting people to, to really change their mindset is tough. So in this book, it's really from years of research that I've done that in order to speed up culture change, you need the help of digital tools. And digital tools will be things like your group decision support systems, your technology that can allow simultaneous brainstorming. So the idea is that you bring a lot of people into a decision room. You're trying to align culture. You can't be going down to talk to hundreds of people. In my early jobs as a vice president of human resources with a very large security company, when we were going through massive changes, at that time, those technologies were not available. I remember having to go down to the ground and holding actual communication sessions, face to face, getting people to brainstorm, think through things. It takes a lot of time. But with digital brainstorming, you bring everyone into a decision room from different parts of the world together and bring them through this whole transformation process through the use of digital tools. So we found out in my research that it actually speeds up change by 2 to 3 times in terms of, and also it's with alignment, because with technology there is a lot of anonymity. People don't feel that they're exposed, and they're more willing to speak up. So there are interesting chapters that I've done, and also I've done interviews with CEOs, tech startup, tested this kind of methodology. So if you're interested, go to Amazon.com. You can find the book in Amazon and all the major bookstores online or in Kindle format. But otherwise, really, for those of you thinking of embarking on this journey, you really think about really using the help of digital tools to help with your culture transformation, because it really speeds up change in a much more faster mode, and that's needed in today's digital economy.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
So it's about leveraging on technology to speed the culture change so that you can drive the organization output.
Transformation, and also with the correct methodology.
Yeah. Okay, wonderful. And I'm sure I make sure that I'm going to check out your book, and I'm sure our audience is going to check out your books as well. And yeah, Carolyn, on the topic of future of work, I know you care a lot about this diversity, inclusion, and also you do a bit of work on this social enterprise, like combining the business resources and the charity sector and all this. Yeah, can you share with us a little bit about how can we make this future of work more inclusive? Because we all know that we need to change, but I know there's some people, there's small segment of people saying that, hey, I don't want to change, or I don't want to learn any digital skills, right? So for this small portion of people, right, will there be a future for them, and how can we make future of work more inclusive?
Sure. I think that, of course, it'd be great to change people's mindsets, like what Jaclyn said, and encourage them to have more digital skills so that they can thrive in the digital era. But yes, you're right. There'll always be pockets of people who may not want to learn more about technology, but there still is great opportunities for them to still be able to find meaningful work in this era. So such as, being what I call humans being more human, and not kind of moving away from the technology side. So the types of jobs could be things like being a psychologist, a social worker, a childcare provider, a primary school teacher, believe it or not, a bartender, a hairdresser, a chef, sports coaches, people in the arts such as ballerinas and singers, for example. And don't get me wrong, all these professions could still benefit from elements of technology, but if they really, really just don't want to touch it at all, I still believe that they do have a future here. And it's true that there are machines that can make you a drink like what a bartender can. But the truth is, for example, the tourists want to go into a hotel and have a chat with the bartender to find out what's happening in town, you know, what sort of things I should watch in the theater, what's the best places to go to sightsee. So I don't think that that will, you know, be changed anytime soon. And if you can ask most females as well as lots of metrosexual males, they'll never want to replace their hairdresser with a machine. I still love being able to walk into my hairdresser and have a chat with her, you know, rather than to speak to a machine to do it. And what happens if that machine has a slight defect? So, you know, there's still lots of other professions where, you know, people can still thrive and utilize the human skills and the people skills and, well, hopefully not avoid technology altogether. But I just want to be able to, I guess, give people that sense that there is still a future for them if they choose not to do too much with technology.
Okay, great. Oh, you open up some new career ideas for myself as well. So I'm going to check out the list of jobs you mentioned. And I also understand that you do quite a lot of like charity work and social enterprise.
Yes,
So on that
right,
front,
yeah.
like, how do you see like corporations, like business sector, can collaborate better with the social sector so that they can create opportunity for the community, right, towards the future world, right? How do you see the private sector and social sector can work?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of organizations, in particular corporates of all sizes, that always have corporate social responsibility or CSR type of work. So for example, with me working at PwC in Singapore, we do have an arm that looks at how we can help the community, and we can do this in multiple ways. In the coming weeks, I'll be working with my colleagues to actually run workshops to help charities as well as social enterprises to advise them on what digital strategy is, where they can transform without necessarily having level of financial investment like what a profitable large corporate might have, but where does it actually make sense? So for example, we may have digital marketing people helping to explain how they can better utilize technology to obtain more donations from a wider pool in the public, not necessarily subject to just that country, but globally as well, what the outreach could possibly look at. And also being able to upskill some of their staff so that they can use technology better, which, you know, for example, like this COVID situation, most charities do not have a VPN or a seamless technology experience to be able to work from home very successfully. So what can we do in our space to help advise these charities so that they can be successful? I do feel that, especially with millennials as well as Generation Z, they have a very strong global citizenship, wanting to do good kind of value system. And I think that progressively we'll see more and more people wanting to do a lot of volunteer work as well as set up more social enterprises. And I think that, you know, this is sectors in which I believe and I would like for government as well as corporates to spend more time giving back to the community, including charities and social enterprises. I would say that, just to share, in the last 2 days itself, the Singapore government has just released and introduced a new program called the TESA program, or TESA, which is the Tech Skills Accelerator program. This is actually to help in the first wave 500 mid-career professionals obtain jobs. And how do they do this? This is where the government helps to provide funding, as well as working with industry as in employers and training providers. So this is where they could, you know, get hold of professionals looking in mid-career, wanting to make a switch or to be upskilled, whereby the government provides the funding. The employers will have to make a commitment to hire them for at least 2 years so that we can provide on-the-job training and so forth. But then there are also, in parallel, training providers that can help give them the additional boost at the start to get the right experience, the right skills, and then go into those employers who are willing to help shape and coach them along the way during that 2 years. And I've always said for several years that I want to see stronger collaboration between governments, industry, as well as education providers. And this is a fantastic new initiative that has been launched, and I'd love to see more of this happening throughout the world as well.
Okay, wonderful. So, so this is a, I mean, like greater collaboration, right, between the private, the social, and also the government, right, to help make the future more accessible to everyone in terms of jobs and career. Okay, wonderful. And Anas, I know you have some unique perspective, right, on the changing role of HR, right, towards the future, Anas. So would you like to share with us like maybe one or two observations on like how the HR role is changing towards the future? Oh, you need to unmute, I think.
Sorry, I was saying I'll try to share more than one or two, but I'll keep it short. I think the first and foremost important thing about HR is something that I've noticed, that people sort of confuse tech with transformation, because a lot of HR professionals feel that if we bring in the technology, that will automatically transform their company, their culture. Although tech is a tool that is going to support that transformation, but the transformation itself cannot be dependent on the tech alone. And that's one of the pitfalls that the HR professionals today fall into. And I think that's what they need to avoid. And they clearly need to distinguish between what part of my problems is the tech going to solve, and what part of my problems, which are human problems, that need to be solved by the human connection, by developing the culture, or something else that needs to be brought in. So I think that clear distinction needs to be there, because as we are increasing the role of technology, that distinction and the lines are getting blurry, and HR professionals are finding it difficult to clearly draw those lines. So I think that's one. The second part of it is, I think as we go into the future, what we call is the personalized experience for candidates and for employees, that needs to be there. While everything is sort of customized to individuals, right? My phone, my everything I do from day to day, my Facebook account, my everything is customized to me, right? And even the ads that I get is customized. But when people come to companies, the initiatives and the policies that HR people have built for those companies, they are standard. Like Pip said, some of those philosophies come from our 20 years of experience, and we've seen them work. The older philosophy was that if it works for 90% of the people, then it's fine. But today that's going to be changed. And we need to provide policies and procedures and sort of experiences to our employees that are customized to them. And we might have different versions of policies operating in the same company to address different sorts of populations that we have in the organization. So I think that personalized experience is going to come in more and more, and we need to think on those lines. The third thing is, I feel like within, not just in Asia, but across the world, we are, especially in the tech industry, I feel like we're in the employee market as opposed to the employer's market. 10, 15 years ago, the talent was in large supply. The employers dictated the terms of how this relationship is going to work. But today, with so many opportunities that are available, not just within companies, with freelancing opportunities, remote work, new, somebody can just drive an Uber, somebody can just open an Airbnb, and they have multiple sources of revenue now, which is why their dependency on one single source of income is less, which is why they are sort of dictating those terms. And employers need to understand this and sort of work on the engagement part and the retention part. So I think that's the third most important part. And the fourth part that I think employers need to focus on is the upskilling part. When it comes to L&D, the way people learn has also changed. Traditionally, it was different. So again, a customized experience of how people are going to learn and upskill and relearn some of those things. I think that's what the focus of HR professionals should be.
Wow, thank you, Anna. So there's quite a lot of things, right? HR professional need to work on. Hey, Pip, I know you do a lot of work in Asia, especially with the HR tech and technology. Right? How do you see the technology adoption in companies happening in Asia? Right? So what's your view on the technology adoption in Asia?
It's an interesting question, Dickson, and I'm actually going to flip it back the other way, because we often put the tech first. We talk about what HR is doing, you know, around the technology. And it actually goes back to what Jaclyn and Carolyn alluded to, is that the change only goes as fast as the people are. You know, we do not have a more advanced HR function than the people within it to be able to execute. So what tends to slow down or to alter the adoption of HR tech is the mental models or the mindset of the HR professionals within it. It's not only the understanding of technology. New technology requires a different approach and mental model to understand and to implement. It's not the one that we learned with the HRIS, with the big systems. It's gone way beyond that. So to be able to adopt tech in such a way that it is more flexible, and I think it goes back to what Anna said, and I often encourage HR people to think of any HR tech in this way. There is a very big difference between what we could automate and what we should automate. Because very simply today, everything can be automated. There is no question what could be. The answer is everything. The real question we need to ask is what should be. And that is a human question. Now, we need to understand the technology so that sufficiently to understand the impact on the human being so that we can determine what should be. We don't need to be technologists. When we're learning about technology, it's to bring it together. It's like Carolyn said, it's bringing these very human, artistic, philosophical, psychological types of roles and mental models and profiles together with the understanding of technology to recreate a different future. It's not one or the other. And unless we have this understanding, we will be augmenting technology with humans rather than augmenting humans with technology. And it is a subtle but very significant difference, particularly if you are the human that is augmenting the technology. You'll know it very clearly. So when I look at what we're doing in HR, particularly in Asia, the answer is diverse. Some companies are using tech. They've gotten the bandwagon with the AI label. They have bought it. They've got the chat bots, which are really just cognitive RPA, and they're not leveraging it appropriately. A lot of us are still struggling with those massive investments in HRIS. And a lot of big HRIS systems are still taking the lion's share of our budget, which leaves just very little left over. And many of us have a much busier ecosystem than just that one single system. I think from the research I've done in Asia, the average HR function is dealing with 30 different systems overall that they have control and not over. And yet we keep worrying about this, what Anna said around standardization. We kept getting wrapped up in how do we standardize? How do we get them to use our employee self-service? Forgetting that it doesn't solve their problem. It solves our problem as a function. So there isn't a single answer, Dickson. I think that some companies are doing it more than others. Many of us are in experimentation mode, and that's simply because we are in learning mode. I really hope that the ecosystems that I see being built are not the ecosystems that we'll have in the future. I'm seeing it very much and hoping very much that it is just part of our learning journey as HR professionals about how we use these new technologies such as artificial intelligence, robotic process automation, augmented and virtual reality, and even blockchain. It's creeping in some places if we ever understand it.
Okay, fantastic. Wow, wow, time flies. So we have covered quite a lot of things, and now I would like to ask you for some key message. So let me open up this discussion, right? Rather than asking you each one of you one by one, I'm going to throw two questions out and just free flow and jump in and share your perspective. The first question I want to ask you is, so based on this situation happening in Asia right now, do you have like one key message or advice to the HR professionals? And then the second question is, do you have any one message or advice, right, to those HR services provider or technology company who want to expand into the Asian market? Okay, so so maybe let's do the first question. Right? The first question is, any message or advice to the HR professionals in Asia? Okay, one sentence, one sentence answer. Okay, yes.
Be
Pip?
brave. Be
Be brave.
brave. Go and learn. Just because we're HR does not mean we do not understand technology. And the fact that we understand people is more important. We have to be the voice, or the human voice at the table with all the technologists. Please be brave. Go and learn the technology.
Okay,
Our
great.
voice matters.
Be brave. Go and learn technology. Great. Any other message to the HR professional?
Dickson, Jack here. For me, I think it's important
Yes.
for us to have an open mindset.
Open mindset.
And for HR professionals, I think I agree with Pip that be brave, and I think for taking it further a step, we have to be the leaders for the organization. I think especially in this period of rapid transformation, we have to take charge. We have to lead, and we have to work alongside the CEOs and telling the CEOs about the kind of transformation that's needed in the workplace. We have to lead culture change. We have to help our leaders transform. Because if we HR don't take charge and move the organization, it's very, very difficult for the other functions to tag along. So I think that for my advice is be brave, take charge, and lead culture change.
Okay, wonderful. And how about for the HR service provider or HR tech company or even HR startups who want to expand to Asia or capitalize on this like future of work trends happening in Asia Pacific? What would be your advice? Right? Like, is there like a one sentence or two sentence short advice to the HR providers?
I think it's really about being able to find what your true strength and niche is and what you want to be well known for. I think it's difficult to be all things to all people. And also being able to make sure that you're able to help guide HR leaders to this new transition into the future of work, because a lot of them are open to ideas. They're wanting to hear what they should be doing, and to be able to help and make them feel empowered to take charge, like what Pip and Jaclyn had mentioned.
Okay, great. Thank you. Anyone got any insight on any
so I can
here?
add. Yeah, I can just add, I think it's about finding the niche, and it's about finding so I always say that while technology and HR professionals today, lots of companies, they're solving today's problems, but every time you solve a problem, a new problem is also created. So this is like a never-ending chain. So when you're finding your niche, so for example, people are solving problems related to engagement, relating to retention, and relating to learning and development, recruitment, for example. But lots of new problems are being created every single day. So just find out that niche where you're going to work in and try and solve that problem, having that futuristic mindset. I think there are lots of opportunities out there for service providers as well as HR professionals to make their mark. It's just about, I think Pip has summarized it perfectly. It's just about taking the first step, being brave, and just going out there. There are lots of opportunities.
Okay, so it's
I may just augment that very quickly. I see a lot of bright, shiny things, and a lot of them think they are solving problems, but they really do not understand HR's problems. Please, HR technologists, get in the ground and figure out what problems and opportunities genuinely exist. Iterate with HR. Do not sell to HR. We are learning, but we're not stupid, and we can smell a lemon, and we need help understanding the technology to solve the problem. So be very clear and iterate with us, collaborate with us, and together we will build sustainable and meaningful products.
Okay, that's
I'd like to jump in, Dickson, on that point. Especially with technology, I have a lot of companies calling me every day. I get an email trying to sell a product, and they are really, really stupid emails. I'm sorry to say, but please do not send emails, mass emails, and say, oh, have you done this? Have you done that? We'd like to sell you this product. It doesn't work. You've got to work with a company like what Pip says. You've got to understand problems. And a lot of technology has to build in design thinking. You got to understand the needs of your customers first before you start doing anything. Go with a low-level prototype, talk to your customers, ask them for their feedback, continue to do iterations until you meet the needs. And even each company has different, and each organization has different kinds of needs. And I remember a company that came to us, and today they are with me, and I've been partners with them for many years. They came up with this app that was just, very interesting. But what was more important that it was that they worked with us, we give them feedback, and the tool continued to refine. And today, I would say that that app is a fabulous app, and it does a lot of things for us, and the pricing is really reasonable. So I think be practical, go to the customer, understand needs before you start trying to sell a product.
So don't sell the product, don't sell the technology per se, but understand HR, empower HR,
Yes,
work together with the HR. Huh?
Right.
Okay, wonderful. Wow, great. And now we are moving on to the final part of today's session. And so basically, if I'm going to ask you to summarize, right, the future of work in Asia situation, right, in 3 words or less, what would that be? Okay, so I know it's a bit tricky question. You don't need to answer me one by one. Feel free to jump in. Right? So if you are going to summarize, right, the future of work in Asia, right, in three words or 3 vocabulary, what would that be? What would that be? Now, while you're thinking about this 3 vocabulary, okay, let me recap, right, some of our discussion points for today, for the benefit of the audience. So in the future of work situation in Asia, right, so we are seeing increasingly female participation, right, towards the future. We are seeing growing freelancing opportunity. We are seeing stronger needs for engagement because of the talent battle. We need to build a T-shaped skill set. We need to empower teams, right, rather than empower the organization structure. HR need to learn, right, how to learn. We need to be able to combine, right, the old experience and the current skill set and map it to the future. We need to use technology to build organizational transformation fast. We need to use technology to build a culture change fast. We need to see greater collaboration between government, social sector, and private sector, right, to make it a better place for the community. We need to make sure that we understand technology is not about transformation, and we need to understand that technology alone, right, is not solving the problem. We also need to upskill ourselves, right, more rapidly, and also we need to create more personalized HR experience and also employee experience. In terms of technology, we also need to be more aware of what could be automated and what should be automated. And in terms of like a partnering with the HR community, right, in terms of selling your product, right, you should stop thinking about your product, your technology, right, start thinking about how you can understand the HR, empower HR, and solve the HR problem. Okay, so with that, if I'm going to ask you, right, 3 words to summarize today's discussion, what would be the 3 words or 3 vocabulary?
For me, I would say courage, upskill, and inclusion. Courage because we're entering into inclusion. Courage, upskill, and inclusion. Yeah, courage because a lot of people are fearing what's going to happen next. I think change and uncertainty is now the new normal in our lives. Okay. But we should actually put aside our fear and actually lead with courage and be brave, as what our friends have mentioned. Upskill because it's absolutely necessary to thrive in this world, and inclusion because I believe that there's a lot of pockets of people from underrepresented communities that really need a hand, and do what we can to help them. Okay, wonderful. Anyone want to chip in and share your 3 words or 3 vocabulary?
Sure.
Sorry, go ahead, Anna.
Thanks. So for me, I think one is execution. The second is impactfulness, and the third word that comes to my mind is very exciting.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Jack? Yeah.
I think I go back to what I talked about: learn, unlearn, relearn.
Learn, unlearn, relearn. Okay.
You got to
Fantastic.
learn, you got to unlearn means you got to change your mindset. Relearn is continuous improvement. It's
Okay.
really all about the mindset, and the technology is not difficult to adapt to, but if you are resistant to change, it becomes difficult.
Okay. Thank you. Learn, unlearn, learn, unlearn, and relearn. Okay. Pip, do you have any three
Yes,
words?
mine is past and future coexist.
Past
There's
and
no
future
one,
coexist.
there's not, we don't have to throw out everything that we have to be able to work in the future. In fact, our past and our experience is highly relevant to be able to create a future. So we need to work out for ourselves and for employees as we move forward how our past and our future can coexist when it comes to learning, collaborating, integrating, and exhibiting courage and resilience as we take our past into the future.
Okay, fantastic. Wow, wow, you guys got me excited. I also want to chip in my three vocabulary. Number one is change. Number two, creative. Number three, open-minded. Okay, so basically be creative and open-minded to changes. Okay, with that, one final question. I want to say big thank you to all of you here today sharing a lot of great insight. And I also want to say thanks to the audience around the group who is now joining in today. Really appreciate your participation. Now, I'm sure our audience would love to know more about your work, know more about your book, your content. And so what's the best way for them to connect with you and know more about you? So Carolyn, what's the best way for them to?
I'm pretty easy to find on LinkedIn because I'm the only person with this surname in the world.
Okay.
So if you look up Chin-Parry, that will definitely be me. Please feel free to drop me a note on LinkedIn, and if possible, just say how you know me, for example, in this particular forum, so that I know to be able to connect with you, because sometimes I don't always accept everyone's request for connection. So
Okay.
yes, definitely be welcoming on LinkedIn. Thank you.
Thank you. And Pip, what's the best way for them to get to know you?
Name LinkedIn. I'll probably be the only Pip or Philippa Pip on LinkedIn. So yeah, connect with me on LinkedIn, drop me an email. Look forward to hearing from you.
Okay, great. Anas, what's the best way for them to know more about you?
Well, same here. LinkedIn is the best way. You'll have to search for Anas Ahmed. You'll probably get a few more of them, but I'm sure you can figure out which one am I.
Okay, and you are based in which country? Maybe they can.
I'm based in Pakistan.
Pakistan,
I'm based
right?
in
Okay.
Pakistan.
Okay, fantastic. So yeah. Last but not least, Jaclyn, what's the best way? I know you do a lot of work, you produce a lot of content as well. So what's the best way for them to connect with you and know more about your content?
Okay, two ways. You can connect me on LinkedIn. I have a lot of top pieces on LinkedIn. So Jaclyn Lee, you can find me quite easily. The second platform is my own website, which is www.jaclynlee.sg. One word. So in my website, I have a lot of videos. I have columns. I have research articles. So there's quite a lot of content in the website. Please do go in and visit the website. And also, of course, you can go to Amazon or major bookstores where you can find my book on all the major bookstores. So these are the three avenues. Thank you. Look forward to receiving your connect with me. Connect me on LinkedIn. Look forward to receiving invitation to accept as a friend.
Okay, so your website, right? Just let me repeat. It's JACLYNLEE.SG.
Yes,
Okay.
this one.
And can you show us your book one more time so that our audience around the group?
Okay, sure. Yeah. So it's called Accelerating Organization Culture Change.
Okay.
By Dr. Jaclyn Lee. Yeah.
Okay. Wonderful. Wonderful. So with that, I think we kind of like wrap up today's session. So I want to say thank you, Carolyn, thank you, Pip, thank you, Anas, thank you, Jaclyn. Really appreciate your time and your sharing today. For those of you who are to join in the middle, once again, my name is Dickson Tang. I'm based in Singapore, and I'm very honored and happy to be the moderator for today. So for
And thanks,
me,
Dickson, for moderating. Yeah,
Yes,
okay.
thank you so much,
Thanks,
Dickson.
Dickson.
So thank
you did
you.
a wonderful job. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. And oh, okay. Someone asked me, what's the best way to connect with me, the moderator? Okay, I'm on dicsontang.me. So it's DICKSONTANG.me. Okay. So wonderful, guys. Wish you a great evening, a great day, and thank you all for joining. Thank you.
Bye.